call the extraordinary ordinary. You know, we all the time are looking for the stupendous, the magnificent, the grand thing. And we think that God only operates in these extraordinary ways. That's the only time God ever operates, through the lightning bolt or whatever. But actually, God tends to operate more in the mundane, in the ordinary, than he does in the extraordinary, if you will. It's those things that happen every day that God seems to work through many times. That still small voice. Excuse me. I'll give you an example of how this happened in my life one time. And it really was extraordinary, but it really was a very ordinary situation at the time. My wife and I were in Concord, North Carolina, down basically the northern part of Charlotte, if you will. And we had panhandlers who were professional panhandlers in the area. And you knew it, they worked the same corners and everything else. But we were driving past this family who was holding up a sign, and God really spoke. And we could tell this was not a professional panhandling group and this type of thing. We couldn't stop at the time. We were in the midst of traffic. We went up, we saw them. There was a McDonald's just up the road. We went up, bought a few hamburgers, some drinks, took it back, and met with this family. Come to find out that they were a family from Romania, and somebody had told them incorrectly, howbeit, that North Carolina was the place to go to get jobs. At that time, it was not. And we had an encounter with this family in this very ordinary way, a few McDonald's cheeseburgers and a couple of soft drinks from McDonald's, and had a real encounter with God through this family. Never underestimate the ordinary things that happen. You never know how God is going to speak, how he is going to work in any certain thing. We're all the time, again, looking for the big, magnificent, extraordinary, the wonderful thing that happens. And a lot of times, and the vast majority of the time, howbeit, God works through the very ordinary things of life. It may be just going and visiting with somebody. You may run into somebody at the store you haven't seen in years, and all of a sudden the conversation breaks out. I've had these things happen many times, and God has worked in great ways. And again, it's in these mundane things, when we just are going through the everyday things of life, when God tends to show up and work. And I pray today that you remember that the face of Jesus is everywhere in every person that you see, and you will never meet a person that God does not love and that Jesus did not die for. And I hope that sometimes during your ordinary, mundane life, you will find extraordinary things in God.